Ines, who works at Explosion, who also has a little bit of internet fame, once coined the term, we don't just want to iterate on our model, we also want to iterate on our data. Before people started calling it data-centric AI, I always used to prefer that phrasing. So maybe what I should also work on is tools that don't just iterate on the model. I should also work on tools that iterate on the data. And if I think about the main issue, and then I'm thinking about bad labels. That's like a thing that's just too common, I think, especially in the academic data sets that people like to use to benchmark models. So, okay, what can I do to maybe find bad labels in my data set? Well, to keep things simple, I'll just assume text classification, but everything I'm about to say works for any classification in general. So I have text and a label, but it can also just be anything tabular or anything computer vision, what have you. Well, then even if there are errors in my data set, one thing I can always do is just train a bunch of models on it. And I can also train two models. Let's say one that's a little bit more bag of wordsy, another one that's a bit more bird-like. Well, then maybe I can then come up with some signals that might tell me that something is off in at least a row or something, given that I have a data set and some models. And note that I am assuming that all of these models are somewhat accurate. These are not models with like zero accuracy or anything like that. Okay, so here's a list. If I have a model and it's really uncertain about all the classes, like there's two classes and both are predicted with 0.5%, so to say, something weird might be happening. It's just it might be an outlier, but it's some sort of example where the model just doesn't really know what to do. That might be because the label is just off. It might deserve checking. Another thing that can happen is you can be high on confidence for the wrong class, which is something you don't want. And you can also be low on confidence for the correct one. In the case of binary classification, these two things point to the same thing. But if you have, let's say, 8 classes, then these two are not necessarily the same, but both could imply that something weird is happening. You can also have two models that just disagree. That's also always interesting. It might also be the case that you're just detecting an outlier, which can happen in all sorts of different ways. And it can also be the case that, let's say you have 5 classes and there's just a whole lot of confusion in the top 2. It could be like a confusion matrix thing, but again, there might also be something happening with the label. And the way that I like to think about this is none of these sort of reasons are a reason to fully say, oh, the label's bad, but they all are reasons to doubt. That's kind of the gimmick here. So Doubtlab is just a suite of tools that allows you to doubt your data just a bit more. And it can also help you prioritize which examples to check first. And the basic rule is the more of these reasons overlap, the higher the confidence that something weird is happening.